Council meeting of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, Monday, August 7th, 2017, at 5:30 p.m. If you'll all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Can we call the roll, please?
Councilmember Julie Chandler.
Present.
Councilmember Pamela Dunn.
Here.
Councilmember Mitchell Crop.
Here.
Councilmember John Petrowski.
Here.
Vice Mayor Wanda Schwer.
Here.
Mayor Leslie Ford Ventura.
Here.
City Manager Nancy Gonzalez.
Here.
City Attorney Paul Marino.
Here.
Finance Officer Melanie Grisona. Here. Community Services Director Lynn Reeves. And Councilmember Gerald Cohen was unable to attend.
The first item is the approval of the agenda. A couple changes and one other thing. Sheriff Gualtieri was supposed to be here, will be here, to talk about item number 5. He has to leave shortly. He can't stay for very long, so if we can kind of leave that flexible when he gets here, let him speak.
Floating item.
Yes, a floating item.
I'd like to add an item to the agenda that have Community Services Director Lynn Reeves report on the streetlights at the marina and the digital sign.
Okay. We can put that around 9A or something when he's going to be up there talking about other things. So we have a motion to add that.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Item number 2, approval of the July 10th, 2017 City Council meeting minutes, the July 17th Budget Workshop minutes, the July 31st City Council Budget Workshop meeting, and the July 31st Special City Council meeting minutes.
I have some questions
Okay?
on the minutes for the July 30th budget workshop. I had brought up possibly bringing in the FCMA senior advisors just to come talk to council about what their services were, not necessarily hiring them. Mayor Notaro advised that it could be brought up at a council meeting as an item to be put on the agenda. And then the city manager, Gonzalez, advised that it would be a subject for a workshop. And there would also be an item on the August agenda on options how to hire the city manager. So I just want some clarification as far as how I bring that up. And since there's no agenda item there, is that going to be covered under their interim?
No, the
City
interim
manager?
would just be hiring an interim manager. Nancy and I had spoken about during mayor comments or city manager comments, scheduling a workshop to decide how we're going to go about the process we're going to go through to hire the permanent city manager.
So instead of an agenda item, you're going to cover it in the comments?
And just try to schedule a workshop.
Okay.
And we were looking at scheduling it for next week, either Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday
Okay.
next week.
Now, as far as options in bringing in that group, is that a possibility, or are you going to wait until the workshop decides that they can ask to bring in that group?
That's something we can discuss at the workshop.
Okay, so we're going to delay it till the workshop then?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I also have a question for Patty on page 1 of the Monday, July 10th meeting minutes under citizens' comments. On citizens' comments, July 10th, Monday, July 10th. Excuse me, number 3, the last sentence, is that supposed to be progress? Or is it supposed to be process? Okay. Yep.
I'll change that.
And I meant to email you and not have to bring it up at the meeting, and I was almost late.
Do we have a motion to approve the minutes with that one spelling change?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Item number 3, citizens' comments. Each speaker will be recognized once and will be limited to a 3-minute presentation on any subject that is not on the agenda. Do we have any citizens that like to comment? Yes, sir. We'll start here. Come up here, name and address, please.
Bill Shaw, 233 Howard Drive.
Yes, sir.
At your suggesting, Les, I attended the workshop meeting, whatever they call it, of the group that were attempting to get underground utilities on 22nd and whatever. As I understand it, the city is going to back a $1.3 million loan, and the residents will pay that back over X number of years, 10, 15, and 20 years, whatever it will be. I and the people I've talked with on Howard Drive hope they get this done. We're not against them having underground utilities. In fact, I think it's going to help all of Bel Air Beach if they do get it done. Our only concern, because ours is going to be much less than 1.3, because we have a little short street there compared to the 4 streets involved in this first process. Our concern is, how do we go about the city ensuring us that they would back a loan for us if we start down this road of spending money for survey, engineering, and all of this stuff, and we come to you and you say we don't have the capacity to back your loan. That's our only concern. Our concern is not whether these people get their underground utilities. So how would we go about, because we don't want to do a whole lot of work and say we can't back your loan, because certainly we don't have the carrying capability of getting that size loan.
I could maybe give you some insight on that. It was made pretty clear, the banker that was at the meeting, that this project would not affect the city's ability to take on the same project in another neighborhood. And that was coming from the banker, so.
Well,
The
he's
city's
not on the
being
council,
covered by
and he doesn't direct how it's easy for him to say that's what I'm saying, that it will not affect, but I don't know if he really knows that. I mean, I think either the council or the lawyer or someone should know whether you're going to have the ability to back our loan, and it wouldn't be a banker.
Well, yeah, because the money is coming from bankers, and they're securing it with these special assessments that are specifically assigned to the properties that are benefiting.
But the cascading of who's responsible, the first person responsible, as I understand, is going to be the city. The next would be the residents. Is that correct or not? That's what I understand from him, that the cascading of who's responsible starts with the city.
The city really is acting more as an administrator in that sense.
So if the loan goes bad, the city will not have to pay the 1.3. That's what I'm hearing.
The bank will own a bunch of houses.
Right. It's a lien on the homes.
So the city has no liability.
The city is not encumbered by that loan, no.
It's not a general obligation of the city at that point.
Could the city be sued for that money?
That's a Paul question.
I don't know how to answer your question.
Well, if it's defaulted on, who's the first person the bank's going after? It's probably going to be the city.
The city's guarantor against those assessments. So depends on how the agreement is worked out with regard to the loan and whether they will look to just those assessments and nowhere else. That has to be worked out yet.
Well, I talked to, not this bank, but I talked to another, no bank is going to loan $1.3 million to a group of people without them assigning their house, which is going to be, they're not going to do that, or having a big enough elephant in the room, such as the city, to back that note. So I'll go back to my original question, which I'm getting run around here. If we do ours, will the city do the same? Let me put it another way.
The same thing that we do for the folks on
Howard. You do the same thing for the people on Howard that you're doing for these people on
Yes.
22nd.
And
And
the
what are
liens will
the,
run with your property. It will be a assessment against your property. Bank can enforce against the property. Okay?
You do the same thing.
We'll do exactly the same thing, yes.
Okay, that's
Thank
all.
you.
Like I said, I do hope you get it. It's the start of
Okay.
helping our whole community.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Make sure Dr. Ward was
Oh, he didn't raise his hand fast enough. Name and address, please.
Glenn Gunn, 2215 Donato Drive. From the July 31st budget workshop minutes, I quote, Councilmember Chandler stated that she had done research and had requested the salary surveys for the city manager, city clerk, finance officer, community services director in comparable sized cities, and was very surprised to find that the city was at the low end of the surveys. Unfortunately, I believe her conclusion was purely subjective based only on a cursory look at the raw numbers. She provided no context or methodology for how she analyzed the data. From my experience in engineering and business, the first question is always, what's the number in the denominator? With that in mind, when you look at comparable sized cities, populations ranging from 1,500 to 2,200 residents, the first thing you will notice is that 8 out of 11 don't even have city managers. And that will skew the data for the clerks, or in the case of Indian Shores, the administrator. So how else can we look at the numbers? City budget and revenue seem to be very inconsistent. So one possible way is to look at salaries as a function of ad valorem taxes, because those will factor in population and property values. In the case of Bel Air Beach, our city manager's salary is 9.5% of the ad valorem revenue. The administrator for Indian Shores is 6.9%. 7 of the 11 remaining comparable cities don't have city managers, and Ms. Chandler didn't provide data for Crescent City and Polk City, which do have city managers. For neighboring cities in the 4,000 to 6,000 population range, this percentage ranged 2.3%, 3.3%, 5.3%, and 6.6% compared to the 9.5% for Bel Air Beach. In the case of the Bel Air Beach City Clerk, the salary is 6.3%. Reddington Shores and Bel Air Bluffs were 7.1% and 8.1% respectively. But again, this data is skewed because these clerks are working without city managers. In the case of the finance director, whose salary is 7.4% of ad valorem revenue, there are only 2 similar comparables, Ladera Beach at 4.2% and Indian Rocks Beach at 5%. Data should not be presented without context or analysis. But what is the real conclusion here? Myself included, I don't think there's anyone presently in this room who has the skills, experience, or background to make a purely objective determination in this area of salaries. The big picture, my opinion is that also carries over into the broader issue of hiring the next city manager. We don't know what we don't know. There are experts out there who possess the knowledge and insight in city management and accreditation, and yet this council insists that they know better than the experts. Given the timeline and logical sequence of events, there appears to be a hidden agenda here, and as a constituent, I do not respect that. I urge the City Council to either make your plan transparent to the residents or listen to the residents who put you in office. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Dr. Ward, did you have your hand up? Did you have your hand up, sir?
Yeah. I just wanted to know if we...
Yeah, podium, please.
Dr. William Ward, Louisa Drive. I just want to know if we're going to take this up on the item 8. Are we going to be able to speak at item, when we get to item 8?
Yes,
Yes, okay, thank you.
that's why it's on the agenda. Yes, well, okay, ladies first. Sorry.
My name is Nelly Rodriguez.
I'm sorry, your last name?
232 Hamburg Drive.
Okay.
My concern is, in other words, we have part of Bel Air Beach that participating in getting all these underground utilities done. A lot of citizens on our streets also requested the same thing. How come we were never put together Or is there a way, would you be honoring us, the same thing you honored group number 1?
Okay.
To back our loans, or what other things you can do for the
It
residents?
would be exactly the same
Pay my
process.
taxes,
Yes,
nothing is for free in this town,
I understand.
and not too cheap either. I own 2 lots on my property,
Okay,
so I pay most money than everybody else.
okay. I understand. If I may interrupt you for a moment, Sheriff Gualtieri has just come in, and I know he has a sort of a short time frame tonight. I don't mean to keep you up, you can come back and finish. Item number 5, request City Council's authorization to enter into an agreement with the City of Bel Air Beach and Bob Gualtieri as Sheriff of Pinellas County for a renewal period of 1 year commencing on October 1st, 2017, including September 30th, 2018, at a cost not to exceed $461,300.11. Sheriff, is there anything you would like to?
Just that the increase this year is related to costs of increasing FRS contributions, health insurance benefit increases, and pay increases under our current contractual step plan with the deputies under the collective bargaining agreement. So it's really just personal services. We try and keep it as streamlined as we can and as tight as we can as far as the costs are concerned, recognizing budgets have been always are tight. We need to be as fiscally responsible with everybody's money, including yours and the town. So we go through a process every year where we look at it, and that's really the cause, if you will, of the increase, which is solely related to personal services costs. And we appreciate providing law enforcement for the town, appreciate the relationship with everybody. Things are going well out here. The deputies are working hard for you, and we certainly appreciate the relationship. Bel Air Beach is a special place, and a lot of great things that happen here, and a lot of things, thankfully, that don't happen here that happen in a lot of places in the county. So very fortunate to have a very, very safe town.
Thank you. Anyone from council have any comments, questions for the sheriff?
Yeah, we have, what is it, on page 12, 22? That we have, excuse me, I hate this. We have a deputy present at our city council meetings, and that seems to be the standard operating procedure. Does that also include the workshops that we have anytime we gather?
That's up to you. And truly, whatever you want, we'll do. That's something for the council, the city manager to talk about, decide. I take a position with all of those types of things is that we're here for you, and you get to set what you want, who you want. If you want us here for that, tell us, and we'll have somebody here.
Okay.
So that's up to you all.
And one other thing is on the neighborhood patrol. It's just on page 4 that I got it. But could you clarify that neighborhood patrol? What exactly that entails?
It's just under the list of services, the general list of services, when it's talking about neighborhood patrol. I mean, really, it's about being in the neighborhoods. And Bel Air Beach, obviously, is a residential town. It's a residential community. You don't have business here. And so deputies need to be in the neighborhoods. And we're trying, I know there's been some discussion and making sure that not only are they in the neighborhoods and not only are they there, but they actually are out talking to the residents, getting to know the residents, roll those windows down and stop and say hello to people and develop their relationships. So when it says neighborhood patrol, it definitely means more than just being in a cruiser driving down the street.
Okay.
Because that's about what everybody does here, because other than Gulf Boulevard and the Causeway, it's a residential community.
Okay. I spoke with Captain, I cannot pronounce his name, Liner. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
Captain.
Okay. First via email, and then I spoke with him on the phone, and he was very helpful in, first of all, and I know council agrees, in praising Deputy Vaughn, who patrols the neighborhood, but we also see him parked in certain areas so that if you're walking, you can interact or not. But it's a good way, and I'm sure in the essence of saving time, he can explain to you and further our conversation, if you would.
And he has, and I'm aware of it, and we will make sure that the deputies out here know what the expectations are, and that they are engaging, the citizens engaging the community. Because it is more than just driving up and down the street and being here and responding to calls. And Bel Air Beach is a little bit different than some of the other places that we police, and the demand is different. And it is about relationships and getting to know people. And sometimes there too is if you get to know people, you know what's going on in the neighborhoods, then you develop an instinct when things aren't right also. But it is all about the ability to spend time and talk to people. And we'll make sure they know that. And if you don't find that it is where you need it to be, call me directly and let me know. Because we'll get them there. I know sometimes it's a matter of communicating with the deputies what the expectations are. There's 13 different contract cities, and they're all different. Everybody is somewhat more than others in certain areas, and some have different needs. And we want to make sure we do personalize it, and we do meet your expectations. And if we're not meeting your expectations, we will. And so we keep the lines of communication open. But we most definitely appreciate you telling us about it. Like anything, like all of you, I can't fix problems I don't know about, and so I have to know about it. So you should never hesitate at all.
Right. Well, please know it's not a problem, and I know you realize that. I had sent Nancy, I think it was last week, an email regarding presence, because when Scott is not patrolling the neighborhood or where he strategically places his vehicle, when he's on vacation or he's out, we don't see the presence. And that's what I was addressing, and that maybe they could have a little more interaction with the residents.
We will make sure, you don't have to be sick to get better, and so we can always be better. So, and some of it, and I think that we're better off now than where we used to be when we had relief deputies here. When we had relief deputies here, that was a little bit of a problem because they would come in, but now with the 12-hour shifts and the deputies are here, the only time that the regular deputies you have are not here is if the deputies who are assigned are off for training, off for vacation, sick leave, or something along those lines. So you don't have a regular situation where you have relief deputies in the cities. But that is a concern, and I know that Captain Leiter will work on that, and we'll make sure that the people who are here to relieve, other than the regular deputies, again, they're only here during those times of training, sick, vacations, etc., that they know what our expectation is, and get out of the cars and walk around and say hello to people and be known and let the people know who they are. So.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think all the dogs expect treats too.
Yeah.
Any other questions from the council? Anyone from the audience? Yes, sir.
I just want to congratulate the sheriff department. They've done a super job. We've had a little conferral in our neighborhood twice now in the past 6 weeks. And they've got 7 sheriff's cars, they had 3 police boats out, they had helicopters overhead. They finally brought the dogs in the last time and brought the guy out of there and hiding him. So I think you guys have done a super job.
What's that?
I treated you one time.
Yeah, you did. Yes.
But anyway.
You did have a situation, Bree, here last week, unfortunately, and it happened very rarely, but it just goes to show it can happen anywhere, where the deputy was taking somebody into custody, and the deputy got punched in the face. And he's okay, but it was a situation where it was an anomaly for Bel Air Beach. But it just goes to show it can't happen anywhere.
Do I have a motion to authorize the city to enter into the agreement with the sheriff's office?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
You need a roll call, Pat? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Commissioners. Councilmembers. Thank you.
I apologize for interrupting, but he's got some other stuff he's got to
I just
deal with.
wanted to know, actually, as citizens of this county here, if you back us the same way on our loan, the same way you did the previous week. In other words, treat everybody the same.
Yes, there is an ordinance about how you get special assessment districts, non-ad valorem I'm probably murdering the term, non-ad valorem special assessment districts, and there's a process that you go through with a petition to get the homeowner, 50 plus 1% of the homeowners in your neighborhood. So that is a process that's open to any organization, or any group, any neighborhood that would like to do that.
We're just going to make sure that you will still back us, pay you back the previous.
We'll do exactly the same thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Hello, Todd Gould, 2180 Louisa Drive. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. This last year, obviously with the undergrounding and stuff, has been rather involved between City Council and the citizens here, and I like the progress I see. All of us, I believe, are here on the council and everybody in this room because we really love the city. And improving it and doing things we can do to make it better, I think, is really what we're all looking for. We have an opportunity now, with Nancy stepping down as city manager, that we can bring in the next city manager who will probably be here for a long time. And I think that bringing somebody in who sees things like this as opportunities to move the city forward, that everything that comes up, whether it is a franchise renewal with the power company, which can then be leveraged to our benefit, anything like that, it's like every time we have something, it's not a task to be checked off, but an opportunity to improve the city. So I really implore the city to continue with what we've been doing and improving the city and bringing the undergrounding and bringing it to all the neighborhoods. And for those people who are now finding out what's going on, our whole goal in our area was to set this up as a model to be repeated through the rest of the city, and try to take off a smaller chunk instead of trying to take on the entire city at one time. So I appreciate the council confirming that for the other neighborhoods that are going to want to follow suit, that they're going to be able to. But with the city manager, I think a lot of what went on in the last year, you don't have to be on the hot seat for everything. Bring somebody in who's going to take that, take your guidance from the council and move forward with it. With training and certification would be really very, very beneficial to the city. Maybe we can even get our roads repaved and resurfaced. They're looking a little tired. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Anyway, yes, sir.
Good evening, Council. Mark Goldman, 437 22nd Street, Fenway Beach. Over the past few months, as I've been wandering around talking to the residents, urging them to participate in the undergrounding project, at the end of every discussion, I'm asked the same question over and over again. Who's in charge of code enforcement? How do I know what they're doing? Why do I see repeat offenders daily doing the same things over and over again? And how can we as citizens be informed of the code enforcement violations, who they're responsible to for mitigating those, and how can we make sure that we feel that we're getting the services that we should? One of the issues that most of those people brought up is that code enforcement does not mean driving down the street and looking for violations. 50% of the violations in our community are on the back of the streets. And you can't see those from the front unless you get out of the car and walk around to the back. I can name a dozen violations that are perpetuated on a regular basis by many of the homeowners around the city from the water side. They go from totally unkempt jungles rather than lawns to fallen down boat lifts that are totally rusted and jutting up out of the water, not only posing a nuisance to boaters, but also putting rust and chemicals and things that we try not to put into our stormwater sewers to keep out of the water just for those occasions. So I'm here this evening to ask the council, what can you put in place to make us aware of all of the code violations that are reported, the ones that are being worked on, and
the ones that have supposedly been addressed in the manner that the code expects them to be addressed, and how we can be made aware of that on a regular basis. I would suggest that the use of the website maybe might be appropriate for this, but in talking to the residents who actually stopped talking about undergrounding and wanted to know about code enforcement, I said I would do my best to find out how we can empower ourselves to be a part of the solution and make our neighborhood beautiful again.
What you can do, we have a very active code enforcement officer. He obviously can't see in the backyard, but if you got a problem with your neighbor's backyard, call the city, and he will get out there. We just had something a month or so ago where somebody had a pool that was rotten, and a neighbor called it in, and it got fixed. We had a hearing before a special master last Friday. He was a repeat violator, and he got fined, seriously. So if there's something that's not visible, or you see something you didn't, call City Hall, and Jack will go check it out. I trust.
And thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. I have done just that, and I have seen some results. But I've also witnessed a lot of occasions when it's perpetuated for weeks at a time, with the violations still blatantly there. And some of the reasons why they're still there are just do not meet the requirement for being a reason for being in violation of the city code. There's a lot of safety hazards that also are tied to this. We have new construction on several of the streets, and there's absolutely no control of the parking during the day while all the workers are present. They choose to park haphazardly in both directions and both sides of the street. Our garbage truck can't even get to the end of the cul-de-sac any longer. They have to walk to pull up the garbage. So no one's communicating with the project managers or the builders and saying, look, we have rules in place. We understand that you have to park while you're working here, but meet the standards and meet the rules. And those things are being ignored as well. So what I'm asking for, I'm not saying that the code enforcement officer is doing a bad job. I'm feeling that the residents are not being made aware of what is being done, what are the resolutions, and they want to have his back. So if people repeatedly violate it, they want him to be made aware of those things. There's a boat been in the driveway for over 3 weeks. I know it's been reported, boat's still there. So none of us understand what kind of an excuse the owner could give code enforcement by allowing that to perpetuate. So my suggestion is that we find some way to keep us informed as citizens and let us participate in keeping our neighborhoods safe and clean. That's it. I don't think that's asking for too much. So thank you for listening to me. And let me know if I can participate in any way in making this an easier process.
Thank you, sir. Any other citizens' comments? Seeing no one, we'll close citizens' comments. Did you want to say something?
I was just going to say I met with all the project managers.
Okay, come on up to the...
Sorry.
Name and no,
I have met with all the project managers, and they are parking on one side of the street. If you're talking about Louisa Drive last week, that was not actually contractors. What that was contractors on one side, and then your trash trucks showed up, and then your lawn service trucks showed up. They're the ones that actually screwed up the traffic. But we're pretty much on top of that, just so you know. We handle the parking end of it. That wouldn't be code enforcement.
Another reason for you to be walking or driving around in the neighborhood, to know what's there. Okay, thank you. Item number 4, public hearing, consideration of ordinance 1703. Paul?
This is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, amending and correcting a scrivener's error in the City Code, Section 10-39, pertaining to enforcement violations and penalties, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. Mayor, originally all we were going to change was in the second subparagraph, was a 2-66 to 2-248, but while I was in there, I saw 2 other things that I thought needed adjustment. just above that, the reference to the building official should be city. And on the second page at the top, the reference to code enforcement board to code enforcement special master. So we managed to correct a couple of items there.
Thank you. Do I have a motion for ordinance 1703?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Patty, you want to call the roll?
Councilmember Chandler?
Aye.
Councilmember Gunn?
Aye.
Councilmember Brock?
Aye.
Councilmember Petrowski?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Schwer?
Aye.
Mayor Notaro?
Aye. Ordinance 1703 passes 6-0. Okay. Agenda item 5 we've already taken care of. Item number 6, consideration of appointment to the City of Bel Air Beach Board of Adjustment. Patty?
Yes, there are openings on the Board of Adjustment, and Mr. Mike Kelly has offered to serve on the board. Mr. Kelly here?
He is here.
So, staff is asking that council appoint Mr. Kelly.
Okay. Do we have a motion to appoint Mr. Kelly to the Board of Adjustment?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Any comments? Do you need a roll call on this, Patty? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations. Item 7, consideration of ordinance 1704. Paul?
Yes, ma'am, this is an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, amending section 10-174, parenthetical K of the city code pertaining to setbacks and height requirements for swimming pool enclosures, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. This is back up for first reader again because we changed the language in subsection K, and if you need explanation, your new member of the Board of Adjustment can explain it.
We have a motion for ordinance 1704.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, questions?
I know you did mention facial board.
Pardon?
I know she did mention facial board in there. It's all right. I did facial board.
Okay. Patty, you want to call the roll?
Councilmember Gunn? Aye. Councilmember Brock?
Aye.
Councilmember Petrowski?
Aye.
Councilmember Chandler?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Schwer?
Aye.
Mayor Notaro?
Aye. Ordinance 1704 passes 6-0. Item number 8, consideration of an appointment of an interim city manager. As we all know, Nancy will be retiring at the end of September, and we will need an interim city manager until we go through the process of hiring a full-time city or a permanent city manager. Our Public Works Community Services Director, Lynn Reeves, has expressed an interest in taking this position. And we've got his resume, which is, he's very impressive. He's had a lot of experience in municipal organizations, management, grant writing, all those sorts of things. And I would entertain a motion to appoint Lynn Reeves as the interim city manager.
So moved.
May I ask a question?
After 7.
Did you second it?
I second it.
Okay, all right. Yes, discussion.
The discussion, is there a time limit on this?
I guess until we get a full-time city manager.
Is there a time frame on hiring a city manager?
We'll discuss that at our workshop. Sooner rather than later. I don't think we're going to sit around and nobody wants something. Okay. Okay. Any other questions, discussions, comments from the audience?
William Ward again, Louisa Drive. I went through all of the previous reports on the previous certified city manager, and you have my note that I wrote to the city council. I hope all of you have that and have read it. We don't, if Mr. Reeves is appointed, it should be on a temporary basis until we get a certified city manager lined up to take over for the city of Valley Beach. When Miss Nancy was here, and I think several people were here when we chose Mr. Silverboard, and Nancy wrote me today that I made a mistake by saying that the search was, we engaged a search company, Colin Benzager and Associates. Well, I was reading from the our esteemed writer of the Bill LV, the reports, and I'm sure that with 45 applicants or so that we had to have someone to
Sir, excuse me, Dr. Ward,
advertise.
Dr. Ward, excuse me, the subject right now is the appointment of an interim city manager.
Interim city manager.
Yes.
Okay, but there should be a limit on the time of that interim. And interim just means to me that this city council is determined to put him, Mr. Reeves, in. He's a nice guy, and he's done some good job. In fact, he was a mayor when Nancy was appointed as city manager. And we've got a couple of people here that were on the council at the time. And I just don't want, until we research this and we appoint a committee, the CPWG group, the Certified City Manager group, will help us to find a certified city manager. They've helped other cities, and they will be glad to help us, I'm sure. And
Mayor, can I just address one point that you're saying? There's no such thing as a certified city manager. I personally talked to the Director of Education and Services at ICMA, and they do credentialing, but there's no certification granted. I do a lot of certification programs for nonprofits, so I'm very familiar with the concept. I just want to go on record saying that there's no such thing as a certified city manager.
Can I address that?
Hey.
That's why I keep on bringing in this group so that they can explain what cities look for, what kind of credentials they look for. This is my first time going through this. It's a very important issue for the city, and I don't know why we can't bring in this group to at least educate us on their services. The city budget, we're paying out ICMA $760 a year, FCCMA City Manager $290, are those publications, a total of $1,050 a year, and we can't bring them in just to ask them what kind of services, and I want to ask them questions. You know, rather than getting it from our attorney, I'd rather get it from this organization.
You know, it's interesting you bring up the FCCMA. Pulled up their website the other day. They have 14 people on their board of directors. Guess how many of them are certified by ICMA?
Well, the
credential.
For me, the question is finding...
Only half of them.
It's not, my question is not the certification. It's getting educated as to what we should be looking for, education-wise, experience. They can help us with salary range. I want to be educated.
I've researched this on the internet. There's a lot of information out there. You can spend some time doing it.
And I've done that too. And I've got a lot of information on it.
Okay, so this is a subject for a work session. And I will read you our city charter, section 303.01, city manager. The appointment of the city manager shall be based solely on executive and administrative qualifications. So there's nothing in the charter that requires they be credentialed.
I totally agree with that. I just want to be educated by a professional organization so I can ask those questions. What should we expect? You know, I want to know how the hiring process goes. Advertising, are we just going to advertise in the St. Petersburg Times, or we're going to do it through a professional organization? And
those are subjects for the workshop. Okay? The issue right now is an interim city manager.
Can I just say something to Pam? This is the second time that we've gone through the search, and both times we did have a committee that was made up of 3 council members and 3 residents, and they gathered tons of information, and we used that both times, and it included ads, questions, the time period, interview questions. We even did telephone interviews. So I've got 2 huge books from both of those 2 transition committees that have a lot of that information in it, that will be helpful, whatever the council decides which way they want to go.
okay, thank you. That answers a lot of questions. Thank you.
But I want to be sure, if you're going to decide this at a workshop, that you allow the citizens of this community to speak and to consider their feelings and their desires, all right? I mean, I'm trying to be forced into things that you guys have done up here. Consideration of the city people here. And I think,
Point is noted.
I think it's been a shame that it's gone this far.
Okay, do we have any other comments on the city manager? Mr. Gould. This is the interim city manager.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Todd Gould, 2180 Louisa Drive. I requested the council amend the current motion to put a 6-month cap on this, which then council, if we haven't found a city manager at that point, city council is more than welcome to then have another motion and appoint the interim for another 6-month period, but at least put some boundary on what you're doing right now to create that necessary need to move forward. But then, of course, if we haven't made that, you could extend it, but at least let's put some boundaries on this. Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to put a time limit. I just don't see you can go into perpetuity. You need some kind of time frame, whether it's...
There's a motion on the floor for record. If you want to want to amend the motion, then the council will have to consider that in reverse order, taking your amendment first and then the primary motion.
Okay, I'd like to amend.
Comments on amending, putting a 6-month interim?
Is that what your motion is?
Motion is at least to do some kind of time frame, and I'd go for 6 months, and then look at it in 6 months and renew it.
Wait a minute, is there a second?
There's no motivation to move quickly on finding a new city manager unless we have some kind of time limit there.
Mayor, you'll need a second to that?
Yeah, do I have a second for the 6-month limitation? Second, okay.
Take a vote based in reverse order, taking the amendment first and then the primary motion.
Okay. Do we need a roll call on this, the 6-month, to add 6 months to the motion?
Sure call.
All those in favor of defining interim as 6 months?
6 months at a time
Is that with the renewal, if we can't find someone after 6 months, we can renew that
Right,
6
yes.
months to 6 months?
Yeah, that's how I understood it.
Okay.
You'll have a new council in place, so you can keep that in mind.
Yeah, okay. All those in favor of adding 6 month, putting a 6-month time period on the interim?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Nay.
I think I'll take a roll call just
Okay,
for
all right,
that.
okay. The 6-month amendment.
Councilmember Chandler?
Aye.
Councilmember Gunn?
Aye.
Councilmember Crop?
Aye.
Councilmember Petrowski?
Aye.
Vice Mayor Schwer?
Nay.
Mayor Notaro?
Aye. The motion is amended to define interim as 6 months maximum, with the option to renew it if we have not found anybody. Okay.
That would be 6 months from September 29th.
Okay.
Now you have to go on the main motion to appoint Mr. Hughes.
Yeah,
That'll start October 1st?
Yeah. Do we have a motion to appoint Mr. Reeves as interim city manager? All right.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Comments from the, yes, Mr. Young.
Len Gunn, 2215 Donato. Interim, full-time, certifications. Every professional in this room has certifications or accreditations. These days, you don't have a job without it. This guy goes through certifications to fly wide-body jets. I had licenses and certifications. If you're a software engineer, you have certifications. If you do contracting, you have certifications. To practice law, you have certifications.
Excuse me.
I'm
We're
going to speak to
talking
the
about the interim city manager.
And I said interim or full-time. The logic of this process escapes me. The long pole in this tent is hiring the full-time certified manager. The interim, fortunately, you've listened to the urging of your constituents and put a time limit on this thing. But the logic of this thing makes no sense. You could have had this vote next month because Nancy retires effective the 29th of September, and in one fell swoop, you could have had this vote in September. But you haven't even started discussing the hiring process. What's wrong in this picture? I don't understand. Can you enlighten me on that, please?
We're looking to appoint an interim city manager. Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Welcome back.
Rob Baldwin, 2401 Gulf Boulevard. And I'd like to speak in support of appointing Lynn Reed as an interim city manager. I had the pleasure of working with Lynn for 4 or 5 years. I've known him for about 9 years. We worked together in the construction of this building and the Harrison Bridge and several other projects. You know, I guess to me, the main thing that you're looking is for the right person. You know, the certification, I think the city manager position, we've had 2 city managers since we started that new form of government. The first one was Reed, who was here for a little bit less than 2 years. He was not ICMA certified. This was kind of a stepping stone for him. He was really looking for a higher paying position. The next was Nancy, who's been here a little over 10 years. And I just personally, I feel really sorry to see Nancy go. Nancy has done a great job. She's done a wonderful job for the city. And she's also not ICMA certified. You know, the thing that really is important to this city, we face some unique problems in this city. We're a barrier island, we've got floodplain issues, we've got stormwater issues, we've got improvements to deferred maintenance on the infrastructure that needs to happen. And we need to find the right person, both interim and permanent. You know, Lynn has worked for the last, I think, 18 years with the city of Seminole. He's a certified, Oldsmar, sorry, Oldsmar. He's a certified floodplain manager, certified stormwater inspector. I mean, the things, and he's done multiple capital improvement projects for Oldsmar that include all the things that we need, the upgrades to the stormwater system, the resurfacing, the paving, the seawalls. I mean, Lynn has experience in all of those areas. And I think the biggest thing that, you know, it's kind of unique that Lynn lives here. You know, he lives in this community, he cares about this community. And so again, I'm speaking in support of Lynn Reed for the interim position. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, I'm Dick Kroll, 1170 Gulf Boulevard. I'm here also to speak in support of Lynn Reeves as acting interim, whatever the title and term you determine. I also had the pleasure of working in the City Council from 2006 to 2010, during which time amazing things happened, including hiring Nancy, building this building, outsourcing the police department. A lot of work, a really significant work that has long-term implications to the city. And Lynn was instrumental in virtually all of those decisions. I'd like to note he's not go along, get along guy. Those of you that served on the council with me would remember that there were some times where we disagreed on stuff and we felt strongly and had some heated conversations about it. And I think that's an enormous asset of Lynn's. He lives in the community, he loves the community, and he only strives to get the right things done for the community. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Do you want a roll call vote?
Only one comment. Nancy is ICMA credentialed, by the way.
I'm a full active member of ICMA and have been for 10 years. Not credentialed.
Isn't Glenn Reeves a member too?
He is an affiliate member of ICMA.
Isn't Melanie affiliated too?
With ICMA, I think it's in the budget for her to do that this year.
I was a student member now.
Can't hear you.
Student member, she is.
So I think that's what I was talking about, the membership in our budget, isn't it?
All right, Patty, you want to call the roll to appoint Lynn Reeves as interim city manager for 6 months? Yes, sir.
Bill Shaw again. Now, I don't know if Mr. Reeves, I wouldn't know if he came laid the floor and did the alligator. I don't know it. I don't know what I'm for or against him. My only question is, if he's going to be interim, does he have a job now that he's going to have to leave, or is he unemployed? But if he's coming as an interim and giving up a job, that's pretty serious on our part to ask him to do that.
He is currently the community services director of the city, and he will for interim time.
Okay, I didn't know that. Thank you.
Okay.
One more question.
Yes.
As far as salary goes, does he take on the city manager's salary? Is he going to do both jobs?
He's going to evaluate it while he's the city manager and see possibly the two could be combined. But the salary for right now for the interim city manager, whoever that may be, is budgeted at $95,000.
I'd like to ask one question, please.
He's already spoken.
Sir, you've already spoken.
I've
You've already spoken on this issue before.
But Moreno needs to rule on this as far as a city manager living in the city of Bel Air Beach.
Not required as a matter of law.
Not required, but is it against the law?
No.
No.
All right, Patty, you want to call the roll?
Councilmember Chandler,
Aye.
Councilmember Gunn,
I'm going to say no just because the $95,000 was budgeted for a new city manager. I have no problem with Lynn Reeves acting interim, but I can't vote yes because of the $95,000. That was budgeted for a new city manager.
So that's a no vote.
That's a no.
Councilmember Crott,
Aye.
Councilmember Petrowski,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Schwer,
Aye.
Mayor Notaro.
Aye. Congratulations, Lynn. I think. Motion passes 5-1. Item number 9, City Council's approval to reject all B1704 Harrison Avenue seawall renovation bids and authorize re-advertisement.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I spoke to you about this at the budget work session. We got 2 bids. The engineer's estimate was about $105,000 for the seawall repair on Harrison Avenue. We got 2 bids, one at $139,999. It's in your packet, and then we got a really nice bid of $320,000. So what I'm proposing in the best interest of the city, and that's in our purchasing ordinance, to reject the bids and we'll re-advertise it.
Okay. We have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Patty, do you want to? Okay. All in favor of rejecting the bids and reauthorizing re-advertisement?
Aye.
Opposed? There's a 6-0. I think we put in as 9A, the material that Patty put on our desk regarding the streetlights at the marina and the digital sign at the Gulf Boulevard intersection.
Yes, Mayor and Council, we discussed at at the June 5th council meeting. And there's a note there referenced the replacing the street lighting in the marina to upgrade those, and also the possibility of bringing a digital sign to the area at the Crossing Park area. And I got information back from Duke Energy about the street lights. The cost for that process is between $14,000 and $17,000. There's two options there. We need your approval to go forward with this to Big C, so we can request their approval of this, because we feel it's part of the Gulf Boulevard beautification, because the marina is on Gulf Boulevard.
Okay.
In reading this, are there only going to be 4 light poles that we're talking about? Or is it 4 with 2 fixtures and 4 with 1 fixture?
Right, it's 8 light poles.
8 light poles. Do you have a layout of where they're going to be?
I asked for that from Duke, but I haven't got it yet.
Okay, can you just have a copy?
Yeah, when we get it, I'll be glad to make sure you get a copy. I was hoping to have it, but I haven't received it.
So what you're looking for now is the approval to send this on to the Big C's committee, which decides where the penny money is going for Gulf Boulevard beautification.
Yes. And we'll just do both of them, I guess, at the same time, because that's really what it's about.
The one is the digital sign.
Second item is a digital sign, and it is double-sided, and we are working with the company that did the design work. We sent this out to the council, and I think everyone weighed in for the most part, and the overwhelming choice was Concept C. And we've got a cost estimate of $79,831. Once we bid that, I think that's a little high, but it'll have to go out on a bid.
How would this be positioned at the park there? What would be the position of the sign itself?
Well, we would look at that position to make sure we get the most bang for it's probably going to be more with a slight angle, but more directed to Gulf Boulevard, so you can see when you turn, or you can look from across if you're stopped at the stoplight coming from the south. And we talked to the company about that to get the right positioning, but at this point, what we're asking you to do is recommend approval so we can take it to the Big C and ask for their approval.
In the design, is the screen itself going to be high enough so that somebody stopped at the traffic light will be able to read something while traffic's turning between them and the sign?
Yes, if you kind of look at the sign, the bottom portion of it's kind of a monument that lifts it up, so the sight view will be there if you're in the car.
In my car, but not in my husband's car, right?
I don't know what your husband's car is.
Sports car.
Oh, well, I guess he can stick his head out the window. No. Any questions?
Lynn, do you want to tell them, isn't the company going to be able to actually bring the type of sign? There was something that they were going to do that council could come and actually look at it?
Yeah, we're actually trying to get the proposal or the digitalization that they use is a firm called Watchfire, and we're trying to get them to bring that truck out because how these digital signs work, it's the millimeter size of the little diodes. Pixels. And this is set up for 10, which right now is pretty much state of the art, and it gives a clearer picture. So they're working on getting Watchfire to come out and actually show us a board.
This would address the issues that people have had about not being able to read our sign out here. And it's controllable from a computer.
This type of sign is wireless. It's controllable from anywhere if you have a wireless device. So if we needed to change something, for instance, a hurricane came on Saturday, we could do that remotely from our home and go in and put a message up that says, you know, tropical storm or hurricane building's coming. So that's very beneficial. And we can put more up-to-date information on things that are happening in the city.
The way it's going to be positioned, you're going to be able mostly to see it if you're coming down Gulf or north.
Yes. North and south.
Pardon me?
North and south.
You'll be able to see it going south?
Yes. Yeah, there's a landscaping plan for Crossman Park that you approved, Nancy, what was it? 2015. We're going to have to do a little redesign on that because the landscape plan has, on both corners, has palm trees that we're going to have to, you know, relook at how that is and keep the landscaping at a lower level, which, you know, that's fine too, and I think it's important that we get the information to the residents. I mean, I know I've heard over many, many years that they can't see the sign out here, whether it's blue or pink or whatever it is.
So do we have a motion to authorize Lynn to take these two projects forward to the Big C for approval under the penny for Pinellas money?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Go for it. Item number 10, City Council approval of construction services.
Yes, this is a request to go off a national joint partnership contract for constructing the 24 by 30 garage behind the house. It would be concrete block. It would have 8 foot by 8 foot doors so we can get our vehicles in there and storage. In this contract, the total amount is $80,131.58. In that is an allowance for contingency of $3,800 and $1,600 for permits. I went out and got a couple estimates just off the street, and this includes stuccoing the outside of the building to match, which those estimates didn't, and that was upwards of $65,000 for just that garage, bare bones. Also, this contract will also provide a double steel door in the back of the house, so we have better access to equipment and stuff. Right now, the only really storage area we have is that garage. So this will improve that access to the back side of the house.
Just for the information of the audience, we had budgeted how much originally for that public works rebuild, and what is this? So what's the difference? What's the cost savings? Or
the cost savings is about $160,000 overall. We budgeted almost $300,000 for a new building, and what you would be doing basically in that case, you'd be tearing that down and putting a semi-commercial building right in the neighborhood. And in that thought process, my thought was, let's leave the house there, do a little landscaping in front of it, fix the driveway, make it more like a home, and we still would use it for storage, but put a garage behind it that would really not be seen by anyone. Any questions?
Questions?
Is the landscaping budgeted in with that? I was just trying to look at it.
Yeah, we've got plenty. We've got, it's like $118,000 left in that budget. We still have to do some concrete work. We'll have to do some landscaping, but I think that's reasonable.
Well, good job with getting it down nice and lower. We like that.
Well, we needed that money for
Why are we not sending out for bids?
This is a a national contract, and based on the estimates that I got locally for just the bare bones garage, and not taking the double doors and stuff, as I mentioned, this is more cost effective.
No, I think it could be done cheaper. I think we should go out for bids. Just from me looking at the project, I think it could be done for less.
Any questions?
Any other questions? Do we have a motion to approve the construction services off the NJPA contract?
So moved.
So is that like a piggyback?
Yes. You know what a piggyback is.
I know what a piggyback is.
So we have a motion, do we have a second? To approve this?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I just, like I said, I just think it could be done cheaper. I think it should go out for bids.
Okay. Do you want to call the roll on the motion?
Is that a possibility? I mean, if that's...
I don't think you're going to get much savings in going out to bid. I mean, I researched it, as I said. I mean, the basic garage with no stuccoing and not doing the repair on the house was almost $66,000. We're stuccoing the outside so it matches the house, and we're taking a window and a doorway out, putting new lintel in, putting double doors in. I mean, my experience, you're not going to get it cheaper.
Have you worked with this contractor before?
Actually, I have used them in Oldsmar. They put about a 40-foot wooden bridge that came in one piece, installed it over a canal, and I went out the same way, looked at bids, looked at others, and it was pretty much the same thing.
My only hesitation is, John is one on city council that knows construction. So my hesitation is that, because I'm not in construction, I don't, I just think that I kind of agree with John. Maybe we should, I mean, is that something council would consider? I mean, and why not?
The current motion is to approve construction services off of this contract. You can vote yes or no. I guess the other option is if we don't approve this, we go out to bid.
Would that be the procedure?
Well, you would have to go out to bid. You'd probably have to do some more design services. And I think Councilmember Petrowski, and which that would be a legal question. I think his position is he would like to bid on it. And my experience in that is that if you're a serving council member, you typically cannot do that.
Conflict.
It's a conflict.
Thank you for addressing.
We have a motion. You want to call the roll yet?
Councilmember Chandler?
Aye.
Councilmember Gunn?
Aye.
Councilmember Crock?
Aye.
Councilmember Petrowski?
No.
Vice Mayor Schreier?
Aye.
Mayor Notary?
Aye. Motion passes.
Is that wasting city money? We love wasting city money.
Item number 11, Mayor and Council comments. Where do you want to start? John?
No, nothing.
Okay. Jules?
I do. I don't know if you want to start with me or everything. On our, let's see, code enforcement log that we received with our packet, there's no page number, but dated 7/5/17. Morgan Park North and South Beach received complaint of tents being left on the beach. Tents were tagged for removal on 7/6. They can't remove them? I mean, they have to wait 24 hours? Okay. That's one thing. The other thing is, Mitch, do we have an ad hoc committee? I have a bunch of questions from that meeting that I attended, which is if City Council has several of you are on the meeting, but the others of us that are not on that council, are actually on the committee. It's very beneficial for us to go, and I learned so much, but I have so many more questions. And I don't want to take the time tonight because it's been a long meeting. So,
you know you can ask those questions at that meeting too.
I didn't know that. I misunderstood the sunshine law. I didn't want to.
She was
told she couldn't speak.
It was my understanding of what was given to me that I couldn't speak. I found out afterwards when I talked with Paul that I could, if I directed my comments to you.
Publicly noticed meetings.
But do we have another date for the next one?
Not yet.
Okay, and then the other thing is, I want to address what was said about City Council having a hidden agenda. I find it extremely offensive, and I'm so tired of this. City Council has a hidden agenda. What are you stalling for? What are you stonewalling? What are you hiding? Why isn't this moving forward? Why aren't you doing this? It's very, very frustrating. City Council has a process that we have to do month to month. You can't just say something to City Council and, okay, because you wanted it to happen, it happens. It doesn't work like that. It's a process. I noticed that there are not a lot of people that run for City Council. If you want to be part of the solution, when we have our next election, put your name on the ballot. I just find it very, very frustrating, the attacks that City Council has been getting recently. Not just at City Council meetings, but in emails. And I find it very offensive, personally and as a group. So I just wanted to say that. We don't do things behind closed doors, so as soon as we found out that our city manager was retiring, we're doing the appropriate steps. Pamela suggested one thing, and that will be considered. But there is a process, and that's it. Thank you.
Pam? No, excuse me, this is mayor and council comment time. Pam?
I had on my list here, but I think you were going to address it. It was a motion to form a committee to start the hiring process for a new city manager. I'd like to make a motion.
No, it's time. This is council.
I'm sorry.
Comment.
I thought you were going to, I brought it up earlier, and you said you were going to bring it up during comments
We're going to
about...
talk about doing a work session, at which time we could talk about forming a committee.
I mean, how long are we going to delay this? Aren't we going to have a
How's
committee?
next Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday for a work session?
That would be the 14th, 15th, or 16th.
Monday or Tuesday.
Monday or Tuesday? Monday or Tuesday, you said? Monday or Tuesday? Next week, have a work session to talk about Monday or Tuesday next week? 14th or 15th? 4:30? Monday?
So Monday at 4:30. The 14th.
The topic will be procedure we're going to go through to hire a permanent city manager.
Pam, if you want to come in and look at those books, you're more than welcome to.
No, I think I'm more concerned. I've done a lot of research, like Wanda said, and I know there's a process. I'm just more concerned about getting the process started, and it sounds like we're doing that tonight. So I thank you.
Mitch?
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of back up, and this is a question for Paul. Paul, is there any reason that we couldn't publish this code enforcement log on the website?
No.
Because it's a public record.
Once a citation's been issued, or a notice of a citation being issued, you can publish it. The due process and privacy rights of the individual.
I'd make the suggestion, if it isn't too much trouble, to put a click-to place on there where this report would be available.
That report is a public record.
Yeah.
If you wanted to publish that report, you could.
That's what I'm saying, the one that Jack gives us every month, and then
You
what I
can
think.
publish that.
We can do that. Okay.
It might also help with some repetitive complaints about the same property when it's been addressed already.
If I might, folks are frustrated because the process takes so long. Unfortunately, the process, there's a lot of due process rights that flow with this, statutory and common law. And we have to give the individuals due process rights unless it goes right to health, safety, and welfare. It goes really to a health issue like mosquitoes in a swimming pool kind of thing, then you can act immediately. And there's several ways to act. You can either go through the special master in a civil proceeding, or Jack could arrest somebody and take them down to Central Booking, where he could issue a notice to appear and go before a county judge. And expedite that on an expedited basis. So you've got two different ways to go. And I can appreciate Jack's frustration when I've talked to him about this rental problem we have and how long it takes to get that resolved. And the people just throw it in our face. But we have to go with the due process approach. We have no choice. And that's a constitutional right.
We'll see what we can do about getting this on the website.
Okay, the other thing I have is, we had received an email from a resident talking about the pond across the street. I do think, because we've got such issues with mosquitoes and high potential risk of really infectious mosquitoes, if there's anything we can do about that?
County owns it.
Yeah, the county does own that.
We own the fountain though, don't we?
Len, do you want to address this? He found a huge box full of history on that fountain from back 1993.
That's intentional.
The fountain, I talked to the county about it several months ago and got several emails back and forth, because at first I thought, well, maybe if I go to the county and they want to fix we need to excavate the pond, there's a lot of sediment in it. They told me that it is within its limitations, and they have a scheduled program that they come around, and right now it's not on the schedule. Our agreement with the county right now is that we mow the bank, and we do that pretty much every week. And trim the landscaping around it, the bushes and things of that nature. And probably about once a month, every 6 weeks, we weed eat, because we don't have the equipment that can get down to the edge of the water, so we have to do it by hand. As far as the pump, the original pump was put back in there in the early 90s, and every month, at that time, I guess, the Public Works Department had to go out, pull the pump out, and clean it. Because, unfortunately, different times of the year, the pump's sitting in muck, and other times of the year, like right now, it's sitting in water. And the pump's been replaced, based on the stuff that I found, 2 or 3 times, and every time it burned out because of the sludge. So what actually, I was planning to do with it is pull the pump out of there and just get rid of it because it's electric all the way out. There's a cable, and you know, we may be able to look at something like a bubbler that moves the water around, but I wouldn't think the pump they're expensive. And I think I got a price for a 2 horsepower, it was $6,000. The current pump in there is a 5 horsepower. So you kind of interpret that, it could be 12, 13,000. I would imagine that Councilmember Crog has had a few of these, and there's a lot of maintenance to them.
Would a bubbler be an efficient option to keep the mosquitoes down?
Well, what all the fountains really do, they look pretty. They're moving the water. That's really what they're doing, and you know, that's really what it's for. It's to circulate the water so it moves. Right now, the water's moving because it's overflowing the weir. And if you go over there, there's a concrete box. That's the weir that it's overflowing. And I'm sure because it's brackish water, you know, salt plus regular water, you know, from rainfall and stuff, I'm sure that has some effect on the wearability of the pump also. So, you know, if we want to try to look at something, you know, I'll look more in depth into it. But the county, based on what they told me, and I'm sure Nancy, I think I sent you the emails, and she could send our conversation with them. They're not going to do too much.
No question. At one time, didn't they have those mosquito-eating fish in there too?
They're still there.
They're still there.
And there's a sign that says no fishing, but people still go fishing. I don't know why, but yeah, it's got mosquito-eating fish in it. And all of us that have lived here any length of time know that come winter time, there's, you know, it's wet, but you could probably walk in there with your, you know, knee rubber boots. It might go over the top of them, but that's because you're sinking.
A couple weeks ago, Nancy and I attended a meeting at the county building regarding the Penny for Pinellas referendum that's going to be on the ballot on November 7th. And they provided us with some fact sheets about, you know, what is the penny, what's it used for, and so on, some cards and some fact sheets, and they will be on the front counter or on one of the racks over there, so you can you know, read about the penny referendum that's coming up in November. The other thing I had on my comments was the work session. We got that for Monday at 4:30. That's all I got. Paul.
Sorry, I really had nothing specific to report on, except that you may recall that I originally asked for a July meeting off, but I can't hear, thankfully. But I would definitely like to have the October meeting, and to be able to miss that particular meeting. I'm trying to get up to Georgia for September, October. I still work, I mean, I still do work, it's mere fact.
Remote. All right. Thank you.
I just can't attend a meeting.
Nancy.
Yes.
As part of the CRS certification, I have to provide everybody with a copy of the floodplain management progress report. I just want to make sure everybody did receive it and they did read it, so we get points for that. So.
And we get reductions on our flood insurance rate, so that's a good thing.
That's all I have.
Okay. Motion to adjourn. None.